Tribe 230, how are you? Okay, so we're still working on making the connection with the states of matter. And here's one more example of gas. So that again is the liquid evaporating into the air. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. Remember that earlier this morning we had the sunlight that was coming on one side of the roof. It rained, so the roof was still wet. The sunlight was warm enough to be able to evaporate that water on the roof into the air, and it looked like steam or smoke. Now, this is our breakfast and lunch. This is a whole bunch of vegetables, a little bit of ground chicken. Doesn't taste great, but it's great nutrition. So this just came out of the crock pot and it's still really, really hot. So part of the ingredients was all of the vegetables and the protein as well as water. So right now there's still water, there's liquid in the stew, and the liquid is actually evaporating. So we're just gonna make the connection with one more example so that you can see the state of matter, which is gas. So we're really focusing on gas today because oftentimes you can't see gas, but when you do, it looks like steam or smoke. So I'm gonna stir the food, stir, 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 and I'm hoping that with a little bit of the dark surface behind that you can see a little bit of that steam. So again, I'm gonna look a little bit closer and you can see a little bit of that steam. There we go. One more example of a gas. So 3 states of matter, remember, solid, liquid, and gas. This is primarily solid with a little bit of gas. Let's see if we can see it one more time. There we go. Have a good one. Liquid into the solid. Hey, Tribe 230, again, just another making a connection with the most obvious sign of gas, because we're really focusing on gas today, is the tea kettle. So we have all the water. It's evaporating into the air. Let me see if I can have a better view. So there we go. Gas. The water is inside. Underneath is the fire. So you need heat in order to make water evaporate into the air. And this is applying a lot of heat to the water. The output is your steam. So that's probably the most obvious example of the gas. And this obviously is my wonderful teacher assistant. No offense, Brian, you are amazing. But my teacher assistant is Cyrus. Say hi, Cyrus. Say hi. Hi. Say hi. Cyrus is going to help us with all these wonderful projects. So, Cyrus, you're doing awesome. You're doing amazing. Another thing is, if anyone has ever been curious on how to use a vacuum sealer, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. First, I'm going to turn off the stove, obviously. So a vacuum sealer has 2 words, vacuum and sealer. So make the connection. What do we think that it does? It's actually going to suck the air out of a bag, and then it's going to seal it. So survival tip 101, make as much food as you possibly can. Make sure that you store it safely. So all this protein and vegetables that we made the connection with, how the gas was evaporating into the air from this stew, we're actually going to freeze it. So if you wanted to see how I do vacuum seal, this is our vacuum sealer. So again, the 2 words are vacuum and seal. So there's something that happens to the air when you see the air escaping from the bag, and then we're just going to seal it. So if you wanted to stay tuned for the next, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. You can see how a vacuum sealer works, because I know all of my students have the capacity for at least one arm that's able to function and operate. So if you wanted to contribute to your family in a meaningful way, if there's any way that you can get your hands on this vacuum sealer, or you could even message me. I can drop it off on your lawn if you absolutely need a vacuum sealer to safely store the food in your freezer. When you store food in the freezer, you have to make sure that you take the air out as much as possible. So the more that your food is exposed to air, the quicker it goes bad. So if you can take that air out, store your food in the refrigerator or the freezer, it is going to keep your food safer for a little bit longer. So survival tip 101, get your hands on a vacuum sealer. If you do, or if you need to borrow mine, no problem. This is how you use it. So I'm trying to figure out where to put this so that everyone can see it. I really don't know how to use YouTube or take a video, but this is the top of it. I always make sure to sanitize the surface. This is the inside. So we're going to put the bag on the inside. Here are all the buttons.